Hello, selectors, and welcome to the Life Burst Podcast. I'm Andrew.
I am Tiffany, and welcome to the Life Burst Podcast, a Wixoss podcast where we talk about all the Wixoss things and only the Wixoss things.
That's true.
How has your Wixoss week been, Andrew?
I've been pretty good. I played in the Card Garden tournament, and I didn't do super well. I did okay. It was a low turnout though, so it wasn't like any real testing. But I played X just to try it out. You know, I haven't played X in a long while. I felt like I did pretty good. I'm a little disappointed in myself. I played well. I read the opponents well. My issue was, though, I got overwhelmed on turn 3 and 4 as to what I should be recurring to my hand, and I didn't quite do it successfully, and really because I just didn't read what exactly I needed. I just got overwhelmed by the sheer amount of options I had in front of me, and I want to focus on fixing that later for me. That's my Wecross week.
All right, sounds good.
Oh, and I've done tons and tons and tons of getting ready for like some GP primer breakdowns for us for the next couple, but they're not ready yet. So that's why we're here today doing just random topic, not really anything exactly.
This is kind of like a Wecross and chill kind of podcast where we just want to like talk to you fellow selectors about just like kind of free form.
Yeah, probably not a super long one. I do have a question. I would like to get people's opinions on this one, but we had a commenter down below asking if we could. I probably could find out the commenter's name in a second. I just don't have my phone on me to check.
I'll pull it up on mine.
But it was on the last podcast, Tiffany, last one that we did. They were saying that maybe we could provide some tips as to like what are some really good min-maxing the event itself, right?
Like not just the decks?
Not just the decks, you know, not just the gameplay of like reading, but like probably other stuff too. Like when you come to an event, you want to like maybe take I hear some people listen to music before their round gets announced, so that way they can like center themselves.
I see. So kind of like preparing for like competition.
Yeah.
Not
like,
so much like the deck that you're bringing, but
right.
like the mentality that you can
or
put
even
into
what do you
it.
bring in your backpack, you know, kind of stuff.
Oh, well, I can tell you how to prepare for a convention. That I can tell you.
So what I'm asking for the commenters down below is I've gone to GPs, but they've only ever been local GPs. I've not ever actually gone to traveling GP. And I wondered what you guys, when you're traveling to a large scale card event, what are some things that you guys do to prep for it, or what is some of the things that you think are great tips, right? That we'll include them in the next podcast once we correlate all of those things together.
This comment was given to us by Lancet VGC.
Great.
Thank you so much for your comment. I actually think that that's a really good topic
to
talk about.
I agree. I think it's a great topic, and you guys might not know this, but we do read all the comments. We comment back to all of them. We actually, one of the things that we do is sometimes we source videos from it, right? Like the last time we talked about how you might be trying to bait an aggro in order to swing a bad matchup. That was a question in the comments that we then expanded upon in our podcast. So if you guys,
we really appreciate all the comments, because as much as this is like a game and we like talking about like the numbers and the art and stuff, it's also a community, and we love interacting with you guys in the comment section.
Yeah. So, let us know down below what you guys think you would do at these next big GPs. So just start off just this sort of like just Wecross and chill thing.
Wecross and chill.
Here's where I'm at right now with my road to Vegas. So I did like a big things, like, you know how sometimes I make slideshows just to try to get my thoughts on visualness, and throw it out there. On like, here's the primer, here's probably all the decks that you're going to face, and here's their main components. And one of the things that I did to dive down into it too was I like kind of divided the deck into its like key elements. Here's the good reasons why you'd run it, here's the bad reasons why it's not so great. And then you'd be like, yeah, so their early game's going to look like this, their late game's going to look like this, and here are the key cards that are sort of this type of thing. And as I was doing it, it just helped me get a better understanding of like all the decks that are possibly there. Plus I was grabbing cards from set 8 and set 9 as well. There's translations on those cards for us, to help me just have a better understanding of the card pool that we're going to be looking into. And it left me with like kind of more resolute into like, here are the groups of decks I'm looking into, and I wanna like take this month to sort of figure out which one I'm gonna lock myself into. I've also kind of come to the realization that like, as long as I lock myself into one of these decks that are clearly better than the other decks, player skill's gonna have to take me the furthest. I've really leaned a lot on deck building skill to carry me through, but I need to get better at the player skill. I need to be better at seeing what needs to be done on the field in order for me to win and me to react to my opponents correctly. I realized that yesterday when I lost a game I could have won with DXM by not playing Death Deck and drawing 2 extra cards to inflate my hand so that way I wouldn't have gotten blown out by Madoka Break. Like, it was like and I knew he had Madoka Break too. Like, it wasn't like I called it correctly. I just like, there was just so many lines of plays in front of me that I got confused in the mist of it all, you know, and the fog of it all, and I didn't make the right call. So I want to get better at that. I want to get better at cleaning up my player skill, and that's just basically like, I'm gonna have to lock myself into a deck and then call it.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be one of those things where you're going to have to repetitively practice with it and like kind of become like a gamer athlete with it, like running through drills and you know, running every single card over and over again, playing with other players. That's going to be where that ends up.
Yeah, and I still don't know what deck that is, right? Like, part of me wants to play X, part of me wants to play Aya, part of me wants to play Atomic, part of me wants to play Tama, Control, part of me wants to play Green just because I like Bang. And then there is a better version of the green deck coming out called with Mel, probably better. I don't know if it's better yet. I'd have to look into it, but I think it's an upgrade. It's basically, what if a green deck had souls and it uses like that kind of mechanic. It's got like the same kind of DXM mechanic. But so I don't know. And then also another part of me is like, haven't you played with H2O? Do you not realize that H2O is just the best card? It's just like, it does everything you're looking for it to do, right? Like, it beats well, it's 13k, it walls well, it has you can't get rid of it really easily. It is a super annoying card. It just sticks around forever. It discards the opponent. It draws you cards. When you rise on top of it with another card, it gets you a random discard. Like, it does like all the things that in Wixoss that you're like, yeah, I should be doing this. And like, so I'm also thinking about that. Like, there's like certain cards that I'm like, yeah, I could be playing DXM, but Yuki's a really good card.
Right.
And like, Yuki is a really good card, you know? Like,
Yuki is a really good card. For a level 1, it kind of like shuts it down.
Checks all the boxes that you want a level 1 to do. It's like at least 13k, so it doesn't die very easily. I mean, it can die to things. It just invalidates.
Are you talking about Yukime?
No, not Yukime. I'm talking about Yuki Memoria, level 1.
A 13k?
No, that was H2O that I was talking about.
Okay.
I know.
I was about to be like, since when? What deck are you playing?
Just playing Team Pump.
Okay.
Well, it's like Yuki shifts things out of lanes and is like, see you later, Bruno. And then also, like, it's really good against Exia, because like, you're like, kill this thing. What lane do you want to shut down with Exia? And they're like, the left lane. You're like, cool. Yuki move that into the left lane. Great. I've got 2 lanes again. For no effort, no enter, you know. And then invalidating stuff's really good too. It helps you kill H2Os. You know, it helps you shut down. Like, you know, like the thing was, right, my Bang deck was blue because Madoka Clap is a good card and is at least average against Tama. And that's the reason why I wanted it. If I swapped the blue to white, specifically for Haniel to basically make up for my lack of Hakat, and Yuki's because I was just tired of straight up losing to Koella's shut down Lancer, And that's like, or S Lancer, or any of the on attack triggers like Parajulius and Osagetsune. It's like, why am I even running a green deck if they've got this white counter?
That is the ultimate question, isn't it? You guys have heard us say this over and over again. Hashtag justice for green.
It's like green decks should be beating up white decks. Why is Koella so good at beating up green decks? So I
because
added,
green never has any sort of support. It's so depressing.
So I added Yuki into it because I was like, well, then I could just turn off Koella, and you know what? It works.
It does work.
Yuki's such a good card.
Yes, the only thing it doesn't work against is like Zhao.
Yeah.
It doesn't work against Zhao Yun. Or Zhao Yun.
Yeah, like it's I mean, not that you really need to shut off the Zhao Yun shadow, but
I mean, I guess so. I'm just saying, like, wouldn't that be convenient? But like, I get it. Like, that's the only thing it doesn't shut down, a shadow.
Yeah. So I like it. And also Yuki's, you know what other thing's great with Yuki? All those ambush life bursts that I love. Because then you can put Yuki out on their turn and shut something down. Ugh, magnificent.
Or move something around,
Yeah, magnificent.
Yeah. I mean, we love ambush life bursts anyways, just because...
Doing something on your opponent's turn is just so strong.
Yeah, it really matters a lot.
But so, yeah, like...
Timing's very important.
I'm torn, Tiffany. I'm torn. Because I'm like, part of me wants to play powerful cards. I'm willing to not play Bang in a GP.
Might be a smart move.
Probably a fine move.
It's probably the right
but
move.
Then again, you know what? Like, Mel has got some cool stuff. Not only can Mel offer Lancer on anything, kind of like how Bang can do it. It can also stop. It has a soul that's basically like, if this would leave the field this turn instead, get rid of this soul, and then this sticks around. And like, that's obscene. Putting that on literally anything is great. Like, you know, like Exia is great. You know what's even better than Exia? Exia that can't go away.
That's an actual nightmare for your opponent. If I saw that on the field, I'd be like, I guess I'll go get a hot dog, like just scoop.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, you know. So I am torn. There's a lot. There's at least 5 top end, if arguably you could say 6 top end decks that you have to consider for this GP. And I always get lost in the sauce here. And at some point I just got to put my foot down and go like, this one.
Yeah. I do think I'm going to have to get to that point with you where I'm like, shut up and pick.
I know.
We're not quite there yet. We do have a little bit of time to build and experiment and crash stuff together and let our decks fall apart in our hands before we really have to settle in.
Now's the time to try crazy tech if you want to do it.
Speaking of trying other stuff, for me personally, if you selectors out there watched our last versus video, we did a Tama aggro versus Tama control with me playing Tama control, which was very interesting because I don't play control decks in Wixoss, but I knew I had to take the time to really practice with one so that I could have played every different archetype and have all of the experience under my belt, but 2, so I could like kind of try and decide for myself what archetype is best for me, because it's important to kind of look at what decks would be powerful for you to bring to a competitive stage. But I also think that there's a personal component to that as well, which is building on your own strengths as a player. And one of the ways that you can do that is to not work against yourself. And for me, picking an archetype that really gels with how my brain works makes the flow a lot easier for me. So I've been really trying to figure out where my flow exists.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's control.
You are a proactive thinker. You're not a reactive thinker so much.
No.
And like control is kind of reactive thinking. It's like middle proactive, mid reactive thinking. But it at some point like has a moment where it's like, all right, I'm not reactive anymore, and it just goes
it's like time
ham,
to go.
and you're fine there.
Yeah, and I'm fine when I get to that point. Bless you.
Sorry, I had to sneeze, everyone. Forgive me.
Bless you. Yeah, getting to that point's really tough though, and it's such a long journey to get there, especially with how long games are going. Like I don't even remember how many turns that versus game went to. It was a relatively short game, but I know that it can like easily go to like turn 7.
Well, yeah, if you
at
play
this point.
like control versus control, like
It's
takes
a
forever.
long game.
And time is a real consideration, as well as honestly, mental thought
Yes.
is right. You can get mentally exhausted. Again, these might be 12 rounds cut to top 16, and then you're looking at top 16 to top 8, top 8 to top 4, top 4 to top 2, top 2 to
Yeah.
top to top. Right. So that could be anywhere from like 15, 16 rounds, right? Which is so nuts. Like I purposefully used to take aggro decks to GPs just because I was like, I want to have brain power.
So you would play faster games.
So yeah.
Or like I mean typically aggro decks play shorter games just because they burn quick. Like that's
Yeah,
kind
they
of how
win
they
quicker.
Yeah, that's kind of just how they roll. But that makes sense to kind of give you that sort of like gap time
It's
in
funny.
between and like let your brain rest a little bit.
Yeah, it's funny because I've heard some rumblings around people saying like, I think the best deck is Tama Control, but also I don't want to play Tama Control, which is kind of an
Yeah.
interesting thing. Like a lot of people are like, I don't think I have the brain power to do it, and I think
That's totally fair.
I think people can and should have serious concerns when it comes to time, because this is this is a serious GP thing. You double loss if you go to time.
Yeah, and I don't know if they're going to be doing like the typical 45-minute round. But I do suspect that they will be doing double losses, which is, oh, God, that's brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
And
time with stuff like that is a big concern.
and this is a GP, right? So like unlike your locals where you can be like, oh, I forgot to grow on this thing. You forget to grow. It's you're
over.
stuck. You're at level 2. If you draw incorrectly and your opponent then goes like, Judge, I need you to disqualify my opponent because he's not playing correctly. That's on you. It is correct at that point,
Yeah,
like
this is like
GP aside from Worlds, which they don't have yet, but aside from Worlds, this is the highest level of play they offer right now.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, like that sort of like intense like competitive nature is a little intimidating to me. Like I think I'll be able to handle it, but I do also think that like Wixoss players are generally very nice and understanding because I think all of us have been in that position where they like do their enter phase and then they grow an assist and then they're like, oh, wait a minute, I forgot to grow to my like level 2 Larig, and the opponent's like, yeah, that's fine because that does nothing to the board state.
I know.
You know what I mean? So
if
but
I'm also
it
not going to
is-
be on my opponent if they also then go, hey, you didn't grow, you're stuck there now. I'm going to go, yep.
Yeah.
I made a mistake.
Yeah,
It's my and that's what I'm saying with time is like to take the extra time to ensure you're following the steps by the letter of the rules of Wixoss. It's going to take your games that normally might take 5 minutes are going to take.
Now my mom's calling. Sorry, hold on.
Why don't you have Card Jockey's music there?
Because
Yeah, you're not like me. You're not dedicated.
Because I'm not a nerd.
That's true. You're more nerd than I am.
I mean, that is actually true. Anyways.
I think like because I'm going to take the extra time to ensure one, I'm thinking out my turn so I just am not an idiot, but also two, that I'm doing everything correctly instead of being like draw, enter, grow. Okay, cool. I'm what am I doing here? This. Yep. Okay, cool. Putting my stuff down, going to attack step, like I do that locals. I am not going to do that here. I'm going to be like, and draw 1, draw 2, enter step.
I do feel like you're going to
Thinking.
get people mad at you if you do that.
Thinking. No, because I have to. I'm not slow playing.
Yeah.
Like I'm actively moving.
Yeah.
know, and I'm just thinking out my turn, and I'm not going to do something erroneously because I'm not going to place. Like that's the thing is right. We play Wixoss, you throw down a Signy, and you're like, Actually, that should be in the left lane, right? Like, you can't do that. You have to
leave the table alone.
you have to keep the cards in your hand, and the moment that card touches the zone you're putting it in, that's where it lives now.
Yeah, it's kind of like chess, where like if you take your hand off the piece, that's where it is.
Yeah. So you just like I would be scared to play a deck that takes a lot of time.
Well, also one that you're not like fully confident
Yes.
in. Like, I mean, I'm sure some of you have experienced this before. We call it seeing the Sorry, I'm like excited. I'm knocking things around. We call it seeing the matrix, where like you just kind of know what's going on with your deck. So the first like 2 turns you can like kind of be on autopilot, and then when you grow to your level 3, then you're like, all right, it's time to like kick this into our different gear and start thinking about this a little bit more cohesively.
Yeah.
I will say that the past couple ceremonies, I have made a point to talk out my turn, like in terms of like phases, and I've asked my opponent to do the same, just so that everything is very like clear as to like what we're doing.
Yeah.
And I will say that that has made a huge difference.
Yes.
One, it's a lot easier to keep up with the game itself, but it also helps so that you don't get lost.
Yeah.
Because you know, selectors, you know that I have forgotten to grow and it lost me a place in the ceremony before.
Yeah.
But since I've started really talking it out, like, okay, up phase, draw 2, I'm in my enter phase, I'm going to enter here, I'll pay with this specific card, and then do all that, it has like actually made a huge difference for me.
Yeah. I will say, if there's any next step that you need to work on, it's you tank a little bit when you're making your decisions.
Yeah, there's always like one turn that I'm like, I really don't know what to do, and then I really slow down.
I feel like for our practice, we probably should throw in some chess clock times.
Yeah, we should do a timer.
So that
timer
way,
rounds.
I mean, just between practice, right? Not for our actual versus video, just for practice. To
Yeah.
just be like, yeah,
Well,
you got to make your round, you got to make your turn, you got to think of what it is, and in training yourself to decide your turn quicker is not bad, right?
No,
like, it's
that's
basically
like time trial runs. Like you're cutting down seconds off of your lap. There's nothing wrong with that as long as you're still, running correctly. If we're going to talk about this in terms of like, athleticism, because I do think it's, I think it's relevant to talk about this like it's a sport.
Yeah.
When you're preparing to go to a not international but like a national competition.
yeah,
sure.
it's a C sport.
A C sport.
Yeah, cardboard. Oh. Esport is like online, right? So it's like a Z sport.
What? Sure, it's a C sport. I thought you meant like an A, B, C, and I'm like, don't be so hard on yourself.
It would be like a B sport, right? Board game.
No.
But
anyways, but that's I think that's actually a pretty good idea. I would like to do that.
I mean, also just like to help with prioritizing, right? Like, you should be able to quickly identify what's going on and what you need to do next and what's the next step, right? And if you're not identifying that in a timely manner and you're tanking, then you're allowing yourself to like sort of like waddle in the murk.
In the murk?
In the murk, like you're like splashing around. You're like, I don't know what to do.
You mean in the muck?
Yeah, the muck, sure. Yeah, the muck seems right. Where you're like, I don't know what to do here, and I'm trying to figure out what to do. And if I look at every single piece of cardboard in front of me, I may fall into the right answer. Whereas, like, really, you should be like identifying what the right answer is before you even look at your cards, right? That's like how you identify your outs. You're like, I need to win. The way that I need to win is I need to have 5 cards in hand so I don't get killed by a Madoka break. And then I need to have Assassin. Okay, cool. What are the cards that do that? All right, well, I need to have these cards that will draw me cards. My death deck does that, blah, blah, blah. Cool. Great. Do I have those? Let me look at my hand. Nope, I'm missing one. I need to dig for it, or like something like that. That's identifying your outs and playing to your outs, right? And it's just like, yeah, you can look at every single piece of cardboard, but they're not going to, it's not the, yes, that might remind you that something's happening, but you should be having an idea of what you're looking for, right? That way you're not just being like, getting lost in the fog of decisions like I did with X, right? Like I should have just identified I needed to inflate my hand and then attack and I would win. And I just didn't.
Yeah.
Because I let myself get distracted. I had the ability to put Thomas out, and Thomas could mill my opponent, but I have a dais, and the dais isn't fully grown yet, so theoretically I should have the ability to dais and not die on my next turn, and then maybe I can come back with this. You know, like I just had too many options brewing in here, and I should have just been like, what is the option that allows me to win the game? Here it is, I have identified it. Now I will look at my cards.
Right. Yeah.
And like, you can't do that if you tank. It's not like thinking's bad. I'm not saying that it isn't, but you should have a clear path in your head, and putting a timer on that trains it a little bit, because it's like, you got to do it, and if you don't do it and you lose the game, cool, you move on to the next game, do better next time.
Right. All right. I think kind of circling back to like my is it archetype or archetype?
Archetype.
Is it arch? All right.
Archetypes are what you play. Archetype is like
Yeah.
what kind of a person you are. I don't know.
What's the difference?
What's my horoscope?
What is my
Wixoss?
Wecross horoscope? That would be fun. Let me know if you guys want to see a Wecross horoscope video. That might be fun. I have noticed that I tend to do very well. I'm very comfortable in aggro, but I also tend to do really well with mid-range as well as combo.
Yeah, you're sort of like, you don't like dumb aggro anymore, and I mean like that in the kindest way possible. Like,
I mean, aggro was never dumb,
I
but I'm
know.
a better aggro player because I've played other decks.
but like if I was like, you know, if I were to put Dash Harana in front of you, I don't think you'd enjoy it. Like, it has some speed to it and has a little bit of thought, but mostly it's draw a bunch of cards, discard all your cards, burn the opponent.
Right.
Repeat. You know, like if we were playing the Magic the Gathering version of that, which would be just like Bolt, right? The deck that just has like 17 different versions of Bolt in it, and it's just every turn you tap a mountain, play a Bolt. Like, I don't think you'd enjoy that anymore. I think you want something that has a little bit of thinkingness to it.
Probably.
Because like you're starting to gravitate towards things like, aside from Card Jockey, you're starting to gravitate towards things like Cosmos.
I do think Cosmos is a lot of fun. I like there to be like a little, you know, well, okay, I do very well when decks are very synergistic. I've said this before, where everything feels like it's moving towards the same goal, and it doesn't necessarily matter what you have on your field or in your hand, because all the cards are trying to not achieve the same thing individually, but everything in the deck has been built towards one thing.
Yeah.
And that can be very clever. So I do think that Cosmos is a lot of fun. I haven't played a lot of Atomic, but I am considering that as well.
Yeah. I mean, the other side to that, too, is even if we just stay in the aggressive field of it, right? You played the Towel deck in the 3v3, and something you liked about it was finding the right answer to go Nova or whatever, you know? And grabbing the Terra Beast stuff and putting it together. And it's like, you might like X. It's overwhelming because, like I said, I got overwhelmed by the amount of options I had in front of me. Like, literally half the deck are alternate options to win the game, right? Like, and I think that's the thing, is if you're playing X right now, you need to, like, look at your, like, pretend like you have a limit of 3-3-1, right? And just look at your cards in your deck and say, what are the lineups? What is my 3-3-1 lineups versus literally anything that can be presented to me? What if the opponent has a Madoka Clap? This is my 3-3-1. It includes Tengu, so it can't be downed, and it includes this other one that you know, can't be modified or whatever. Like, oh, what if they have line in front of it, the thing that gives can't attack? All right, cool. I go for a Lalaru in that scenario. What if my opponent has a lot of life cloth that I have to chew through? All right, Black Tama is really good there because it has basically shadow against various life bursts, right? Like you just sort of like need to. They have 7 enter, and I need to get them to be under 5. All right, well, I've got Fornax, which is an enter burner, that's a level 1, and I've got 2 Kentokis, right? Like, you've just got to look at your outs on that X. And it's like X allows you, as well as Deus, right? DXM in general allows you to modularize your game plan to just constantly push damage, but be really difficult, like just constantly set up catch 22s against your opponent.
Yeah.
I mean, like even in the garden tournament that I played yesterday, one of the scenarios I put my opponent in front of was I basically had game win in front of me, and I made sure to put a Nobunaga down. Nobunaga didn't have double crush or open lane, just was in an open lane, and it was also a 13k, and I was staring down a Machina. And forced my opponent to use the lion early, and then on the next turn I won.
Right.
Because I was like, cool, let's get this lion out of the way. Right? So X, I think people for some reason have decided to stop like respecting X. And I think that's because maybe a lot of the people who play X don't quite know how to put these lines together. Right? And it's X is not an easy aggro deck to play. I'd argue it's one of the hardest decks to play correctly. But, you know, like it might be overwhelming for you, but that might be something that you want to try, because the truth of it is X gives you just bajillions of options to push damage as an aggro deck.
I'm willing to revisit the deck.
Yeah.
Now that it's been out for a while and we're able to kind of experiment a little bit more with the makeup of the deck, I'm willing to revisit it.
Yeah, it's one of the only decks that is an aggro deck where they put out they can put out a field of like, I'm going to go ahead and Super Celestia Saber, bring a guard back to my hand, and now I'm going to play Exia and Coella and some other level 1 in play. Good luck. Try to beat that defensive thing, and you're like, that's fine, I have answers for it. You know, like give these things Assassin, nullify out this hatch this soul, you know, like you have like tons of ways that you can overcome that board state.
Yeah, it's certainly something that I'm planning on practicing, as well as the what's the new green sender that's coming out? Mel, yeah. I'm actually kind of excited to try that as well.
Yeah, I mean, Mel gives a lot more options for green than anything else had. Ironically, one of the nice options that it's given it is coins, because it has access to coins. And now coins really aren't all they're cracked up to be in Diva format. Aya uses them pretty well, but only pretty well. Aya has the ability, your coins are best used when you can basically trade them for literal resources. Aya happens to be blue, and one of the best blue coin things that you can do is a level 2 that you could pay a coin and enter charge 1, which is like just strictly better Chirin in that point, which is crazy that blue can do it, and then green's enter charge thing costs 2 coins, which is ridiculous. But yeah, getting access to coins would allow you to get some deck filtering and options that green decks don't normally have have at their disposal normally. So I think that's something interesting about Mel. Aside from she just has a pretty good, like the fact that she can give things basically souls. They're accessories, by the way, is what they're called. In her version, yeah, they're called accessories, but they're souls.
We love to accessorize. I kind of love that.
Yeah. And they're all but they're like hamburgers. You're like accessorizing. You're like, here's a hamburger accessory. I'm not joking. One of them's a boiled egg.
Oh yeah, because she's like a foodie.
Yeah.
This is a perfect opportunity for me to make a like food deck or like an objects deck.
Yeah, this is a perfect opportunity for me to cosplay as a burger. I'm just going to play as a burger.
Like Katy Perry?
Yeah. Yeah. Anyone who plays against me will know that I'm out on the Life Burst podcast because they'll see a man in a burger suit.
I'm just picturing you like trying to sit down in your burger suit. Like
yeah, very, very like Bob's Burgers.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, like Gene. Trying to be like, you know, your like lettuce is getting in the way.
Just like slapping the table because my hands can't fully get out of the suit.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
I love that.
It's like the Amonkhet pre-release when I came in as a mummy.
Oh yeah, that's right. That was fun. Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
I don't think
sometimes we like to dress up for tournaments.
I don't think I'm gonna dress up for this one.
I actually don't think I'm gonna dress up either. I know that a lot of people have.
You'll have your card jockey hat.
Well, that I will have on me, but like that is a highly functional, like, sort of cosplay
Yeah.
piece. I actually, there have been a lot of people in the Discord that have talked about wanting to go to the GP and cosplay. And honestly, more power to you. I can't wait to see them. But I just know that I would get so fed up
I know. I don't
with
want.
my costume.
I don't want any distractions when I'm playing. Look,
Yeah.
I'm
Like it's gonna be like leggings, jean jacket, hair in a ponytail, glasses, card jockey hat.
yeah.
Like,
The amount that I'm like just being like I could probably get away with the sleeveless shirt, right? To even have even less to worry about, right?
yeah, like I just don't want stuff on me. Like,
Especially because it's gonna be Vegas and like it
it's gonna be hot.
theoretically is hot
In
there. I've never been there.
In July. In July. It's gonna be Vegas in July. Oh my goodness. It's gonna be like our shoes are gonna melt. It's gonna
Yeah.
be so hot.
Yeah.
But yeah, like wearing a wig is so
Gives headaches. I
unappealing
get
to me.
headaches every time I wear a wig.
Oh, the wig headaches are so real when it comes to cosplay. So I won't be dressing up. I will have my card jockey hat, but that's about as far as I'm willing to go.
Yeah.
Although, if other people, if you're planning on cosplaying or dressing up a little bit, please let me know in the comment section down below and what you're planning on doing, because I would love to see it.
And I want photos.
Yeah, photos.
Yeah. It's gonna be a fun event. I don't, again, no clue what I'm playing, but at least I know what I'm gravitating towards now.
Yeah.
And I genuinely think that Mel is actually a pretty fine option if you're into green.
I'm always into green.
I think there's some talk of Dash Harana. Historically, Dash Harana's not been very good, like, period.
Yeah.
And we have the beauty of hindsight here.
Yeah,
you
we'll
know,
see
being
what
that
the
we're a
English
little-
Wixoss does with it, though.
Yeah, and like that's one of the things that I'm kind of interested in is maybe you take the Dash Harana tech and you try to put it in not Harana. Harana is actually pretty good because it gives you all the things that you want for Dash Harana. It gives you a card in your hand. It gives you an enter to work with, which is great because you use the enter to do stuff like give assassin. The card in hand is valuable because you ditch it at some point, and the other ability is basically just a direct life crush damage, right? And you can play Entwined Supremacy with it. You don't have to play Glory Gross. You don't have to play it in team, and you end up with like just tons and tons and tons of straight up damage, right? Like Dash Harana is the only deck in the format when it comes out that's going to be able to be like, I can deal 7 damage in 1 turn. What do you think about that?
Ouch.
I know, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But and so there's that flourish to it, but it's really dependent on its life bursts, right? And I just am not, I don't, and also I just found the American meta is just less red aggro than I think other metas are willing to be. We just are. Like, it seems like everyone gravitates to blue in this
I think
format.
that's true. I mean, we've seen that across like multiple card games as well.
I know.
So that doesn't exactly surprise me. But it will be interesting to see what everybody brings to the GP, because as we mentioned before, like especially the blue and white decks, those games go long,
Yeah.
especially if it's a mirror matchup.
And like, there's 2 different
it
flavors
does
of blue
make
and
me
white.
wonder
There's
if
like the control blue and white, and there's like the tempo blue and white.
it does make me wonder if people will skew towards faster decks because of that. Because a double loss just
Hurts.
oh, it hurts so.
I mean, if you get a double loss round 1, you're screwed for the rest of your
especially if
tournament.
it's not your fault. Like sometimes like your opponent will just play slow, and you're just like, oh my god, like please. I have been on the receiving end of that, and I would also like to apologize to my opponents because I've been the slow player before. So
It's also on the other player to be like, hey,
hey, you gotta
you're
hurry
slow
up a
playing or
little
I'm
bit.
going to call a judge. Which I will do. Like, I'm not afraid to be like, I basically kind of set a, like, it's nice when you're playing at home because you can kind of have a clock in front of you. I don't know if you can do that at the GP. Like, we don't know the rules, but I don't
There
think
might
you
be
can.
a timer somewhere.
Yeah. So you can probably keep
Like,
it an
glance
eye.
it?
Yeah, glance at an eye distance and be like, we've got 10 minutes left in this round.
Yeah.
We've got to hurry up, or we've got I basically, if any turn goes longer than like 3 minutes, I'm calling slow play, just because I'm not trying to be a jerk or anything. It's just like I don't want that double loss, and I don't want a double loss being it's even if it's not my fault. Yeah, so I don't like I'm in this weird world where I'm trying to figure out exactly what deck I'm trying to lock down to, and I have a vague idea of it, but I'm also like, there's just powerful cards out there. And I want to run all of them, but you can't run all of them because you got to like choose an archetype to go for. And I know that you're sort of in a similar boat too. I think what's going to end up happening is you and I are probably just going to play a lot of Wecross in general.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I think that that's the best way to go about it, is just practice.
And then sort of hash out what we're doing.
Practice everything, settle into a deck, practice that one to death, and then that's kind of the best you can do.
Yep. I think that's it. That's all I had.
That's kind of all I had as well. Thank you, selectors, for joining us for this like little Wecross and Chill podcast. If you have any comments or ideas or thoughts about the upcoming GP or just anything that you want to chat to us, please leave it in the comment section down below. If you would like to keep listening to podcasts like this or stay tuned for our Versus videos, you can subscribe, and please make sure that you check out our community tab where you can vote for our next Versus video in terms of like what matchups you want to see. We can't wait to hear from you, and may you always flip a life burst.
Bye, everybody.